This is Swiss and Chips, your British guide to Switzerland. Hello and welcome to Swiss and Chips. I'm Jo.
And I'm Simon.
And today we're talking about how the Swiss get along with each other in Switzerland.
Exactly.
We're going to talk about what it is that makes Switzerland so diverse. It's not just a country of lots of different languages, but there are other aspects at play there as well.
Exactly, yeah.
We're also going to talk about what the Swiss think about each other. How do they get along with their neighbours, different cities, different parts of the country? And we're going to cover this very interesting question, I think, of how the Swiss communicate with each other if they don't speak the same language. And we'll come back to why that's such a big issue in a minute. And last but not least, we're talking about how the Swiss deal with the high percentage of foreigners, because there are lots and lots of people in Switzerland from other countries, very high level of immigration here in Switzerland.
Yes, it's a very interesting topic, I think. But we came up with it because Marco, who is in our Facebook group, the Facebook group which is called Switzerland for English Speakers. So if you haven't joined yet, join, please.
Yeah, check it out. We'd love to have you
discuss with
there.
us and let us know what you think. So he came up with the topic idea and basically said if we can talk about all these topics, because he was here on holiday and he thought that all the Swiss get along with each other so well, although it's quite diverse. And it had two parts, his question. One was this and the other one was how do they deal in sports teams, for example? You know, how if you don't speak the same language, do you speak English or how is it like?
Yeah, because Switzerland has this really unusual situation, I think. I mean, you know, if you look at the whole world, it's not extremely unusual, but for a person from an English-speaking country, it's a pretty unusual situation.
Yes.
People speak different languages in the different parts of the country.
Exactly.
We've got Swiss-German dialect with many variations, the French speakers, the Italian speakers, and the Romansh speakers.
Yes.
And they're traditionally, they're divided really by region of the country.
Exactly, yes. And that's basically these two questions these two topics he touched. He said, how do you speak if you don't speak the same language? And then another topic developed a little bit in the comments where people started to discuss as expats, I don't have a very easy time here and the Swiss don't treat me so well, where others said the exact opposite and said, I'm having a really great time and everyone makes it easy for me. So we try to tackle all these topics a little bit, but let's start one by one and first tell a bit what makes Switzerland so diverse. So you can show off your knowledge now.
Yeah, well, it's very linguistically diverse, isn't it? Perhaps not compared to a country like India, for example, but for a country that's so small to have three different national languages, four different official languages, one of which is a very minority language.
Yes.
That makes it quite an interesting situation. When I first moved here, I thought it was a situation that Swiss people spoke all four languages, and some people do, but it's more that people speak one language as their mother tongue and they learn the other languages at school, for example.
Exactly. That's basically how it works. And I think most of the people speak at least a little bit a second language because everyone learns it at school for quite some time. So, and the other thing is these four different language types, they also are quite different. They have quite a different character, I would say.
Yeah, true.
For example, the Italian part is a bit more like the Italian lifestyle and so on. Even the weather is there a bit better.
Don't we just know it?
The western part, which is more a bit like France, maybe you could say. Also quite laid back and easygoing, but they,
Yeah, they have a kind of different culture, don't they?
Yes.
Has to
And
be said.
then we have the Swiss German and the Romansh. It's very small. And then we also share, as we just basically started to say, we also share the border with quite a few countries. That we are so small. We are in the middle of Italy, France, Austria, Luxembourg, and Germany.
Liechtenstein.
Oh God. I will cut that out just so we are clear.
Yeah, good.
No, I wanted to say something else. This was just a check, if you know it.
Yeah, got it.
Good.
I'm on the ball.
So 5 borders we share, and when we go or drive in one direction for a few hours, then we are already in another country. And also we have a quite high standard of living.
Definitely.
And people in these happiness
surveys,
we are always quite high. So I guess we are also a country where quite a few people would like to go and live or work there because of the salary or the
lifestyle. Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely.
So that makes it all quite diverse, and also we have such a high percentage of expats living here or people without a Swiss passport. It's it's 25%, so every fourth person, yes,
exactly, yeah.
So that's also quite many, but that's obviously not only because many people move here, it's also because it's quite hard to get the Swiss passport, or at least it takes a long time. And then we used to have this time where Italian workers mainly, came to Switzerland. That was like, I don't know, 30 years ago maybe, or 40 years ago. There are many Italian people coming to Switzerland to build our roads and so on.
Yeah,
basically.
They were basically invited to come and work here, weren't they?
And then we had the trouble in the East, basically, in the 90s. So we have many refugees coming in.
From Eastern Europe, yeah.
Yes. And then when we joined the Schengen, I think there are also many workers that are coming now.
Because of free movement of people, exactly.
Yeah.
So people from Germany, for example,
Loads
come here
of
quite easily and
Germans,
work, speak the same language almost.
Yes, exactly. And basically, in all these times, Switzerland profit. We profit when people come to build our roads and everything. We profit from everywhere and everything, basically. They are, I think people from the East, they maybe have not all of them have a high education. So they are now doing the jobs the Swiss are feel too good to do, basically.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's a similar kind of, it's different countries, but it's a similar kind of immigration story in the UK.
Yeah, I guess.
We have the Windrush generation that we also wanted to come and work there.
Exactly.
And then we had different waves of generation depending on, free movement of people with Europe, for example.
Yeah, and now we have this with Schengen, for example, the Germans, but there are highly educated people coming in. There are loads of professors and doctors and so on. So basically we profit all the time. And that's all these things together. And secondos, like...
it's a second generation immigrants.
Yes. Maybe it's Italian because it started with Italian, probably.
Yeah, interesting point. But we should just say that this secondo, that's the word used in Switzerland to describe second generation immigrants.
Exactly. And many of them, they also don't have a Swiss passport. They could have one, but they don't apply for one because they don't really need one or whatever reason they have. So that's why the percentage of foreigners is quite high.
Exactly,
and all of this together makes a very diverse country, I think.
Yeah, it definitely does.
I hope I explained that roughly correct. And
I think so, yeah. Very much so. But it's not just this sort of mix of languages and the high immigration level, the high level of second generation immigrants that makes Switzerland quite a diverse place to be. There's also big differences between the Swiss themselves, whether it's, neighbours, for example.
Oh, yeah. I think that's totally true. I think we are also such a small place and already divided in cantons and villages and regions and areas and so on and so on and so on. So, this is also makes it, we have this kind of, how do you say?
It's a very Swiss thing, the way there are kind of rivalries between different cities, for example.
Yes, and it starts with the neighbours. I think neighbourhood is a different topic if you live in a city or in the countryside, because on the countryside it's I think that must be everywhere the same. In cities you are closer together, so there are more rules and how to live and how loud you have the music and everything like that.
I think it's kind of the opposite in England, has to be said. Less rules because everyone is just crazy in London, for example.
Yeah,
so you can't complain.
Okay.
But in the village, everyone knows each other, so you can try and lay down the law a bit more.
Okay, well, in the village, you can basically do whatever you like, more or less, because you have lots of space around you. I think there with the neighbors is, it's more an easygoing thing. And then we have the villages close to each other. They are very often rivals, but also that must be similar-ish on many places, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
And then we have the cantons who are kind of rivals.
They have big rivalries,
yes. And there you have also like the villages and the cantons, they have also the different dialects. So as soon as you talk to someone, you already know from which canton this person probably comes, especially if it's a canton with the dialect you can recognize straight away, like from Wallis or Zurich or Bern or from eastern parts of Switzerland.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, would you say that...
Speaking about Swiss-German dialects.
Yeah, with the different cantons in Switzerland, there's kind of a stereotype for each place.
Yes.
Because that's the impression I've got. Whereas in the UK, for example, there are certain places that have a kind of stereotypical reputation, but not every place has that. Yeah. It's just some of them.
No, all of them have.
Good. Maybe we can come back to that in another episode.
Villages, I think villages also have.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, that.
Yeah, so. And and we have kind of like a hate-love relationship, I would say, towards each other. Yeah, because, for example, the Bernese, they don't like the people from Zurich, or basically no one likes the people from Zurich, and the other way around, and so on and so on. No, but
also the people from Zurich, they say stuff about the people from Bern.
Exactly.
That's a classic example,
Bern
isn't it?
Too
Bern,
slow
Zurich.
And Zurich is too fast, and so on and so on. But the thing is, I think it really depends. As soon as it's about when it's too hard, or how do you say that? When it's getting
too serious.
Yeah, when it's getting more serious, they stick together. So you see what I mean? For example, villages hate each other, but as soon as it's against another canton, they stick together.
Yes.
And the same is then with the cantons. So obviously then when there is a football world championship or something, then everyone is Swiss.
Yeah, everyone is extremely Swiss, arms around each other.
Yeah, exactly. So, but also with the people from Zurich and Bern, as an example, I think it's a bit of a hate-love, because
love-hate,
people say, oh, they're stupid, or Zurich is not nice, but everyone knows the qualities of the other place, basically.
Deep down. Sometimes very deep down. Yeah.
Yeah, very deep. It's buried.
Okay.
And shall never be released.
Yes. So,
anyway, so I think that's a bit roughly how...
how it's working.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the thing is, you've not just got the different cantons, but we've also got these kind of language regions, the French-speaking part of the country of Geneva and so on, and the German-speaking part of the country. And something I've wondered quite a lot, although now I've been here 9 years, I've seen this thing in action, which is how do the Swiss talk to each other if they don't speak the same language?
Well, it depends on the situation, but usually everyone, I would say the French never try, but
there we go.
Everyone tries. Everyone tries a bit to communicate. So you see, you taste a little bit. So how are the language skills of your opposite? For example, if it's a phone call and it's in French, for me, for example, I speak Swiss German. So and someone speaks in French, and I might say in German hello to see, does the other person switch? Does the other person switch and speaks very well German? And if not, then I try in French, for example. So
you wouldn't ask them, do you speak English, if they didn't speak German?
Depends what the topic is. If we just don't get along with one language, we don't have one in common. For example, Italian, maybe it's quite hard for me. So I would probably say, do you speak English? Or do you speak French? Or do you speak just any other language, basically?
As a kind of last resort.
Yeah, I think it would be the same like if someone calls you from Russia, and then you just say, do you speak English? And if not, then maybe you try to speak some other language. So do you speak maybe German or something? After
that, I'd be out of options. I have to say, there's been a few occasions where the phone has rung while I'm at work and someone is speaking French. And I say, do you speak German? In German. Yeah. They said no. And I said, do you speak English? And they said no. And then I said, give me a second. And then shout to the room. Really, can anyone come and take this phone for me, please? Because I've got no idea what they're talking about.
I must say, usually everyone speaks a second language a tiny bit, at least. So
I think it might have been a call from France.
Yeah, okay, that might explain it. Because if you have it from the French part of Switzerland, usually they can speak a tiny bit of
German or English.
Yeah,
so it's going to work.
Yeah,
some way.
But we have meetings, for example, or you sit in a meeting where people you don't you don't met before, and then it just starts and says, "Is German okay?" And then someone says, then I said, "Okay, shall we do it in French?" And then someone else says, and then we say, "Okay, then let's do it in English." And usually that's fine then for everyone.
I think the Swiss are quite used to working as interpreters for other people as well.
Yes.
I've seen so much of that since I've lived here, like I've never seen before.
That's also quite often that then someone says, "Oh, I don't speak French," but then someone else says, "I can translate." So
yeah.
And
Awesome.
basically that's the same. Just to come back maybe quickly to this question from Marco from his Facebook post, where he asked, how does a national team, an ice hockey team, he gave us an example, how do they communicate?
Good question.
And I said, well, the thing is, as kids, then you have the same language. You also play usually in the same region. And if you are on a border region, then you are usually bilingual. So you speak both languages.
Bilingual.
Yeah, bilingual. So you speak anyway 2 languages. And if someone is mixed in, or you play against someone further away, you obviously you just don't speak the same language. That means you also don't speak to each other. You just say things like, you just do trash talk in your language, or
Trash talk in your language. How to do multilingual trash talk. That's what we need to know.
well,
no,
obviously
you don't need an example.
everyone understands when you say something.
Yeah,
then,
your mama. Blah,
yes,
blah, blah.
then the other person knows that was probably rude.
Yeah, I'm coming for you.
Yes, or you say it in English. We have quite a few slang stuff in English as well. And then if you are older and in national teams, they have very often English players as well, French player, Italian player, Russian player. So the language would be, it's basically the same situation like in a normal meeting like I described just before. So they say, does anyone speak like German? Does everyone understand German? And then someone says, then okay, does everyone understand English? So usually English is probably the way to go.
I mean, the thing is, we also have this situation in the UK because we have so many foreign players in the Premier League, for example.
Yes.
And I've always wondered, how does that work? Because, the Brits don't speak that many foreign languages, but we have a lot of foreign trainers.
Yes. The thing is, it's these 2 things, or these 3 things, either they all have one language in common, or a friend translates for you, or they have a translator. So, for example, if you would have a Russian trainer, then they would come with a translator.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
Yep.
Easily done.
Any more questions?
Well, I guess maybe just the final point is, we've talked about how the Swiss get on with each other and how they manage to overcome the linguistic challenges of living in a multilingual country. But then, of course, we have the non-Swiss people who are living here. We have such a high percentage of them. And, how does that fit in, basically? How the Swiss kind of handling this issue of having, quite a high percentage of a foreign population here?
Well, I think this was also mentioned in this discussion on the Facebook group, that in Switzerland we basically have a direct democracy and we vote on everything.
Yes,
and everyone has the chance, the possibility at least, to collect signatures for something he wants, or he wants to change, or she or he they want to change. They have the possibility to collect signatures and get it in front of the people so people can vote. I think this is a major reason why people don't get too extreme, or they don't say, oh, everything is rubbish here or rubbish there, because theoretically they must blame themselves for not doing something against it. So
interesting point. So you're saying people have this kind of a feeling of control, a feeling that they can influence their situation.
A little bit more maybe than in other countries, especially because you can vote even on the village level, so very regional, and then also on a canton level, and then also on a national level. So you can vote on every level and have much of a saying always, all the time, 4 times a year.
Yeah.
So I think that helps, but definitely we also have problems with extremists, and definitely we also have problems with people who treat foreigners badly.
I mean, we've had quite a few public votes on issues to do with foreigners.
Yeah.
We had the initiative against mass immigration, it was called.
Yes.
For example.
Yeah. So, but then luckily it was. I think it was good that it's voted on, because then the people who feel bad, they can say, we want to have it in front of the people, and then people can hopefully say, we want a diverse country and we are open to the world. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But I would say we are, if you see on many statistics, we are a very right-wing country as well. Or compared to other European countries, we are quite right-wing led. And this is obviously also doesn't really protect us, this diversity. But I think it's true that we get along with each other quite well so far. So I hope it stays like that.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah, but I think then the last topic that was discussed was how expats are treated and how life is and so on. But I think we have already quite a long episode. Maybe we can
come back to that. Yeah, because I mean, that's a whole topic on its own, really, isn't it?
On its own, yeah. And there is also very different views you can have. And
we'll come back to that and we do a whole episode on that.
Yes.
All right, brilliant.
Then I can go to bed now. Did I say that out loud?
Yes. Okay, so thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, and also thank you. Special greetings to Marco. I think he's Canadian. I'm not sure. But special greetings to you and thank you very much for your question and suggestion.
Yeah, that was great.
And great discussion. Thanks everyone who took part.
Talk to you soon.
Exactly.
Goodbye.
Bye.